expenditure report is due by March 1st, and that is per statute. So some important dates to remember. March 1st, you have the expenditure report that's due every year. If you do not have that completed by March 31st, then the LCPA will email a letter out showing the delinquency to the expenditure reporter and anyone that may be in the PSAP, the director or the admin for the PSAP, if they're not the same person. In some cases, we have a treasurer or clerk that may do these as well. So if it's, they will let you know that if it's not completed by May 31st, then 10% of your PSAP's 911 fees can be withheld. And when they do that, you will get a certified letter of delinquency. It'll be mailed out by certified mail to the PSAP, the expenditure reporter, and the governing body as well. So if it's not then completed by June 15th, which would be the next fee disbursement, or given enough time so that they can make that full disbursement to you or take that 10% out, they will withhold that, if I can talk this morning. And then once you do get that report finished, the 911 fees will be refunded, and they will send out a letter to the PSAP, the expenditure reporter, the governing body, that the report's complete and that the refund has been completed. All right, next slide. Okay, so the expenditure report should be done on the web portal, and you access that at portal.kansas911.org. If you do not have an account, contact one of us, Angie, myself, Michelle. One of us can help you get that account set up. And you're going to go under annual report to do your entire report. And we'll just, there is an option if you want to do general expenditures, and we'll hit those as we go through this. Okay, so what's needed to complete your report? Do you have any pre-911 money? This is any of the money that was received prior to 2012 and maintained in a separate account. Either if you do not have that and you combined it all, you'd go on down to your post-911 money. But we need to have uploads of the revenue and balance page for all of your 911 accounts, not just your primary one. We need to see them all, whether you spent any money out of them or not. It shows your balance. Let's see, I don't think I need to hit anything else, and they're going to the next slide. So you'll need your revenue that was received in 2020 from the 911 Council, any interest that you received in your account, and then any other money that may have been added to your 911 account. You'll also need to have your list of expenses that you paid out of your 911 money, any invoices, and then if you've spent any out of your pre-911 money, if you have those accounts. You will also need to complete the PSAP profile. This is part of the 911 expenditure process, and if you are not associated, whoever does your report isn't associated with the PSAP, this is something that you can print out a PDF and fill that out separately, and then you have to go back in and put this into the expenditure report. There's one for hosted PSAPs and the non-hosted PSAPs, so make sure you're clicking on the correct one. And again, this is what your revenue and balance page looks like on the portal. So just to kind of follow this along, on the left-hand side, your PSAP will automatically be filled in here. Pre-911 money, that's the balance you had 12/31 of 2020. The pre-911 Act for the wireless, again, that's the balance you had in that pre-911 account, if you still have any, 12/31 of 2020. And then you want to put your current year's fees in the next box down, and then back up to the top right, your interest, any money that received, that anything else that came in that does not apply to anything else. This is for your primary 911 account. And then your 911 fund balance, 12/31 of 2020 would go in that final one there. You have to upload your revenue and balance sheet in that box. You just click in there or drag the file in there, and then you hit save. So on to your next step. Okay, and there is a video, if you see below expenditures there, there is a video that's on there that you could open that. And that video, it's from a year ago, but it's still pretty relevant, and that can help you if you get stuck at any point. So anyway, continuing on with this is in your expenditures piece, and you'll click on that from underneath the annual report. Your year is going to be 2020 on all of this that you're doing. The dollar amount, you can just type that in. You don't have to put the dollar sign in. In fact, I would recommend you don't. You're going to get an error. Your type, you've got 4 radio buttons there to click on for what type of expenditure it is. Your vendor is all free format. Your fund is a drop down. It's either post or pre money. And then your allowable use is as well. The one thing on here is to note that we've added in the last year was this clear fields upon save, yes or no. So we had a lot of people that were typing in like AT&T over and over, or I don't know, just any vendor that they put in 12 months worth. They wanted to be able to keep the information, and then if they didn't want to, they could hit no and it would clear it all out. But if you want to keep the information you've typed in and then just go back in and edit the fields that you need to, such as the dollar amount, you can do that. Next slide. I kind of talked about this a little bit, but on the expenditures, when you put in the date, it would be the date that you paid the expenditure. If you're combining your invoices, such as your AT&T bill where you get one bill every month for 12 months, if you want to combine those and add them all up, put the total amount in, put your date as 12/31 of, and I should have put 2020 there, not 2021. Error. Anyway, 12/31 of 2020, and that way we'll know that it was a combined amount. And you can do that for anyone that, if it's a monthly, it's the same. If it's like a radio vendor and it's something different every month, like they came in and fixed something, don't combine all of it, to be separated out. Next. Your type, we talked a little bit about this. We've got the reoccurring costs, either equipment, training, or other. Again, your vendor's free form, you can type that in. Select your PSAP, go on. Talked a little bit about the fund again, but remember to use either post or pre. If you have any of that pre-911 money, you need to be reporting it. And then here's your 8 allowable uses. So I think most everybody here is familiar with those, but you'll want to pick one of those 8 allowables from that drop-down menu. Next slide. Description. We need a detailed description of your 911 expenditure. Just saying it's a phone bill is not enough. We need to know what kind of phone bill it is you're paying. Is it for your 911? Is it admin lines for dispatch? Be specific. I've seen things such as monitor. You know, well, what is that monitor for? Need to put it in layman's terms. Someone that's never done a 911 report before, so that anybody looking at this would know that it is for the 911 center. So be specific. We get audited on this, and that auditor is going to ask us questions and then have us go back and ask you questions if they don't understand it. So please be detailed. That comment section doesn't have to be filled out, but that would just be something if you needed more room to type something. So this piece down at the bottom right below your expenditures that's totaling up here, so it only totals those 4 radio buttons above. It does not total the 8 allowables. So that can just give you a quick glimpse of how your 911 money was spent by those 4 radio buttons. Okay, so this is how, if you've entered an expenditure and you did not mean to enter it, or you need to delete it out completely, or maybe do some editing on it, down below that box at the top, if you scroll on down, you'll see your expenditures. You have to put in the PSAP there, if you can see that right below on the second line. You have to put in your PSAP, and then you have to put in the year, and then you'll go down and select on that line. You'll highlight the one you want to change. And when you click on that, then you will see the highlighted either to delete it or edit it. We did add a thing that if you click delete, it will say, are you sure you want to delete this, instead of just making it go away quickly and you're like, whoops, wrong one. So we did add in that special little safety feature there, so you make sure that that's what you want to delete. But that's how you delete or edit a record. Once you click edit, it will pull that record back up into the table above, and that's where you then edit your record. Okay, general expenditures, these are optional. You do not need to fill this out, but we have many PSAPs that like to do this, so that gives us a good view of exactly everything that you've spent to run your 911 center. So you're welcome to fill this out if you want. I know Scott uses it for the FCC reports. So, all right, your PSAP profile. Talked a little bit about this earlier, but up at the top there, you'll see hosted and non-hosted. That's to get a PDF of the questions. So if if someone that's doing this is not with the PSAP that does your report, they're not going to know, more than likely, the questions off that hosted or non-hosted. So having the ability to print that and answer that, and then come back in here and fill it out is helpful. But you'll click on that right below the PSAP, whether you're hosted or non-hosted. One thing that we do recommend is to hit save progress and then click save many times throughout. We think we've got all the little possibilities of what somebody could possibly type into this figured out, so that it doesn't throw any errors on you. If you get an error and it does not submit, you've typed in something that we did not foresee coming. So try not to use any crazy special characters when you're typing stuff in here. So then you're ready for the annual submission once you get all of those things done, and you'll just come over here, select your PSAP, check the little box next to 2020, and hit save. I was playing with this, and Jefferson County is done now, but like if you try to hit save, it said PSAP profile not complete. So it will tell you, oh, you didn't do something, and this is what you need to go back and do. But they have completed theirs. So. All right, if you're successful in getting it done, you will get this report here saying your expenditure report's complete. It also emails all of us, and it now includes Angie and Michelle. And it'll say your 2020 expenditure report's complete, and that here are your records now to go upload an invoice for. So if you did not receive an email, your report didn't go through. And then once you get this email, now you've got some more work to do. This is part of the audit process, and this is all going to be underneath the expenditures or issues tab under the annual report. So you'll go back into your issues, and then here is where you will upload that document. When you're looking at this, sometimes we may ask you an additional question. So it may say, for example, on this one here, it says, please log into the portal and upload 1 month's phone bill for this expenditure, and please advise what type of phone bill this is for. So if you see that, make sure you answer the question as well, not just uploading the invoice. Sometimes I can tell by what the invoice is, but it's just nice to have that selected there. The audit does randomly select. The system picks 5 of your expenditures. It's nothing we're going in and picking. However, when the expenditure review committee reviews this, we may have some specific questions on an individual expenditure, and we'll come back and ask those. Again, watch your email, respond to any issues that are under that issues tab, any questions or requests that we've asked. We may ask for an invoice for something else. just to help further clarify what it is you've purchased. And then once your report's completed, we'll send you an email advising your report is completed and closed out for the year. Any questions?
I just want to touch on, I appreciate Lori going through the expenditure reporting process, and on behalf of the reporting committee, I can't overemphasize what she stated on being as detailed as possible in your comments. Will help eliminate any type of follow-up questions from the expenditure review committee. You know, be specific. How does that piece of equipment tie directly to the delivery of a 911 service? So I know that's painful for everybody, but once again, be as detailed as possible in the expenditure. And if you had to add comments, add comments. It'll just make the whole process a lot smoother for everyone. But other than that, thank you, Lori, for the presentation, and Angie and Michelle as well.
Are there any additional questions regarding the expenditure report, process, audit, any of that?
Michelle, this is Don. I would just say, just from past experience, some of the things that I've gotten hit on audits for, if you're listing training in there, say it's for your dispatchers, because they'll come back and say, well, was that for dispatcher? Was that for police officer, firefighter? They want very specific information. So that's just another item that you need to consider when you're entering those expenses.
And this is Josh again. To touch on Don's comment of why that happens is the expenditure review committee does not see any name of a PSAP. So we don't know if you're a standalone PSAP or if you are underneath a law enforcement agency or an emergency management agency. So when you do put something in like training and it just says training for dispatch, you know, it doesn't say dispatch, there's no way for us to tell what type of PSAP you are, if you're underneath a law enforcement agency or a standalone. So that's, once again, the detail of coming back to it. But that's, Don, that's kind of a reason of why that happens is the reviewers do not see any PSAP names.
I could follow up on that. I can remember the first legislative post audit we had regarding that. And although everyone in the committee knew exactly what that was for, you know, there's a deeper dive that's done on all of that data, and they look at it to ensure that it's matching and that there's no diversion of funds. So when it's not completely clarified specifically to match the 8 categories or how it falls within, then they were seeking, you know, additional information from us. And that was sometimes, you know, not within the same cycle. So we would have to go back and dig down a little deeper. That's how I recall it, and the clarification needed just makes it so much easier to just go right through it rather than all the back and forth on needing to go back to the PSAPs for that.
Yeah, and as much as the PSAP bring those questions, it's a lot of work on my end, and now Angie's end to go back in and have to type all that out to ask those questions. So it's painful for us to have to go ask you those things too, trust me.